Rain hit the apartment windows like tiny fists. Inside apartment 4B, Daniel Harper stood frozen in the kitchen at 2:30 in the morning, staring at a burnt grilled cheese sandwich smoking in the pan. Behind him, his 6-year-old daughter Lily sat at the table wrapped in a blanket. Her small eyes were red from crying. "I miss Mom," she whispered. Daniel closed his eyes. There it was again. That sentence. The one that made his chest feel like it was collapsing inward every single time. The smoke detector suddenly screamed. Lily covered her ears. Daniel cursed under his breath, yanked the pan off the stove, and climbed onto a chair to silence the detector. Across the hallway, a loud bang echoed from apartment 4A. Then angry footsteps. Then a woman's exhausted voice. "Tyler, if you wake your brother again, I swear I'm going to lose my mind." A baby cried. Another child shouted. Something crashed. Daniel leaned against the counter, exhausted beyond words. On the other side of the wall, someone else was falling apart too. And neither of them knew their lives were about to collide. 3 weeks earlier, the moving truck pulled into the apartment complex under a gray November sky. Daniel stepped out first, adjusting the sleeve of his flannel shirt while Lily clutched her stuffed rabbit beside him. The apartment building wasn't terrible, but it wasn't home. Nothing felt like home anymore. Not since Emily died. Lily looked up at him quietly. "Are we staying here forever?" Daniel forced a small smile. "I don't know, Bug." Truth was, he'd burned through most of his savings after the hospital bills. After Emily's cancer treatments. After the funeral. This apartment was all he could afford now. Second floor. Thin walls. Old carpets. A flickering hallway light that buzzed nonstop. But it was safe. That had to be enough. As movers carried boxes upstairs, Daniel noticed apartment 4A's door swing open violently. A woman stepped out carrying 2 overloaded grocery bags while trying to stop a toddler from running barefoot down the hallway. "Evan, no." The little boy crashed straight into Daniel's leg. Groceries spilled everywhere. Oranges rolled down the corridor. The woman shut her eyes in frustration. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Daniel bent down to help collect the groceries. "It's okay." "No, it's not," she sighed heavily. "Nothing in my life is okay lately." She looked exhausted. Not regular tired. Soul tired. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair thrown into a rushed bun. Oversized hoodie. One of the grocery bags had split completely. The toddler grinned, proudly like he'd accomplished something incredible. A second boy appeared behind her doorway, older, maybe 9. "Mom, Tyler says the Wi-Fi died again." She laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because she was too exhausted to react normally anymore. Daniel handed her an orange. "You've got your hands full. You have no idea." Their eyes met briefly. Long enough to recognize something familiar in each other. Exhaustion. Loss. Survival mode. Then Lily suddenly stepped behind Daniel's leg shyly. The woman softened instantly. "Oh, hi there." Lily gave a tiny wave. "My name's Lily." "I'm Rachel," the woman said gently, "and these little disasters are Tyler and Evan." "Mom." "What? You are disasters?" For the first time in weeks, Daniel almost smiled. Almost. The first few weeks were awful. Not because Rachel was rude. Because their lives collided constantly. The walls were paper thin. Daniel heard everything. Children running. Crying. Cartoons blasting at 6 in the morning. Rachel yelling about homework. Meanwhile, Rachel heard Lily's nightmares through the walls. The late-night crying. Daniel packing the floors. The silence afterward. One Thursday night, Daniel finally snapped. There was nonstop pounding above him. He looked at the clock. 11:48 p.m. Lily had school tomorrow. He walked into the hallway and knocked on Rachel's door harder than he intended. The door swung open. Rachel looked 1 second away from a breakdown. "What?" "The noise," Daniel said quietly. "Lily can't sleep." Rachel laughed bitterly. "You think I don't know that?" Inside the apartment, Tyler and Evan were chasing each other while cereal covered the carpet. Rachel rubbed her forehead. "I'm trying, okay." Daniel immediately regretted coming over. Because that look in her eyes. He knew that look. The look of someone barely holding themselves together. Before he could answer, Evan ran straight into Rachel's legs crying. "My tummy hurts." Rachel crouched immediately. "What happened?" "I feel sick." Daniel watched as she lifted the little boy into her arms, while Tyler continued shouting from the living room. Everything about her screamed overwhelmed. Daniel quietly sighed. "Do you need help?" Rachel looked stunned by the question. Like nobody had asked her that in a very long time. "No," she said automatically. Then softer. "Maybe." That night changed something. Not dramatically. Not romantically. Just humanly. Daniel brought over children's medicine. Rachel offered him coffee the next morning as a thank you. Then Lily started knocking on their door after school. Then Tyler began helping Daniel carry groceries upstairs. Then Evan became obsessed with Lily's stuffed rabbit. Slowly, their lives tangled together. Not because the adults wanted them to. Because the children made it impossible not to. December arrived cold and unforgiving. One evening, Daniel came home from work soaked from freezing rain. He worked long shifts repairing HVAC systems across the city. His hands constantly smelled like metal and dust. When he opened his apartment door, he froze. Lily was gone. Panic hit instantly. "Lily." Then laughter echoed from Rachel's apartment. Daniel rushed next door. Inside, he found Lily sitting at the kitchen counter, decorating cookies with Tyler and Evan. Rachel stood near the stove stirring soup. The warm lighting softened her tired face. "She said you were late," Rachel explained carefully. "I hope that's okay." Daniel stared at the scene. Children laughing. Warm food. The smell of cinnamon. For one dangerous second, it felt like family. And that terrified him. Because grief does strange things. It makes comfort feel like betrayal. Rachel noticed him pulling away emotionally. "You okay?" Daniel nodded too quickly. "Yeah." But he was. That night after Lily fell asleep, Daniel sat alone on the couch, staring at an old photo of Emily on his phone. Rain tapped the windows softly. He whispered into the darkness. "I don't know how to do this without you." And for the first time since her death, he cried. Really cried. The kind that leaves you breathless. Broken. Silent afterward. The next morning, Rachel found him sitting outside the building before sunrise. Coffee in hand. Eyes swollen. She sat beside him quietly. Neither spoke for almost a minute. Then Rachel asked softly, "How long has it been?" Daniel knew exactly what she meant. 18 months. Rachel nodded slowly. "My divorce finalized last year." Daniel glanced at her. She gave a humorless laugh. "My ex-husband cheated on me with someone from his office while I was pregnant." Daniel said nothing. She stared ahead. "You know what the worst part was?" "What?" "I kept blaming myself." Her voice cracked slightly. "Like maybe if I'd been less tired, prettier, happier." Daniel shook his head immediately. "No. But that's what happens to people like us," she smiled sadly. "We start believing pain is our fault." Cold wind moved through the parking lot. For the first time, Daniel truly looked at her. Not just the exhausted neighbor. A wounded person. trying to survive. Just like him. Weeks passed. The bond between them deepened slowly. Quietly. Naturally. Daniel fixed Rachel's broken kitchen cabinet. Rachel started leaving dinner outside his door when he worked late. Lily began calling Rachel when she had nightmares. Tyler started asking Daniel for help with homework. And somehow, loneliness inside both apartments became smaller. One snowy evening, the power went out across the building. The hallway fell dark. Children panicked immediately. Rachel lit candles, while Daniel brought blankets into her apartment. All 4 kids piled together in the living room, fort they built from couch cushions. The storm outside rattled the windows. Inside, candlelight flickered softly across tired faces. Rachel looked at Daniel. "You know what scares me most?" "What?" "That this is temporary." Daniel swallowed hard. Because he feared the exact same thing. People like them learned not to trust happiness. Not after losing it before. Later that night, after the children fell asleep together in the blanket fort, Rachel found Daniel standing by the window. Snow covered the city outside. "She would have loved this," Daniel whispered. Rachel stepped closer carefully. "Your wife?" He nodded. "She loved snow." Silence stretched between them. Then Daniel finally admitted something he'd never said aloud. "I'm scared Lily's going to forget her voice." Rachel's eyes filled instantly. Daniel stared downward. "I play videos, sometimes just so Lily can remember how her mom laughed." Rachel covered her mouth emotionally. Because grief wasn't loud all the time. Sometimes it was tiny. Quiet. Hidden inside ordinary moments. Rachel gently touched his arm. And Daniel almost broke right there. Because human touch after deep loneliness can feel overwhelming. Like starving and finally tasting food again. But healing is never simple. Because just when life begins feeling safe, fear returns. One afternoon, Rachel's ex-husband suddenly appeared outside the building. Lily saw the argument first from the window. Rachel stood stiffly near the parking lot while her ex screamed angrily. "You turned the boys against me." "You disappeared for 3 months," Rachel fired back. "I was figuring my life out." "You abandoned your children." Daniel watched silently from upstairs. Then Rachel's ex noticed him. "Who's that?" Rachel immediately answered. "My neighbor." But the tension changed instantly. That night, Rachel pulled away emotionally. Texts became shorter. Conversations faded. Fear had entered the room. Because attachment meant risk. And risk meant pain. Daniel recognized it immediately. Still, it hurt. Then came the hospital night. The night everything changed. Daniel woke at 1:13 a.m. to violent knocking on his door. Rachel stood there crying. "Evan won't wake up properly." Daniel immediately grabbed his keys. At the hospital, fluorescent lights washed everything pale and cold. Evan had a severe allergic reaction. Rachel sat beside his bed, trembling uncontrollably. Daniel stayed the entire night. No complaints. No hesitation. At 4 in the morning, Rachel finally broke down. "I can't do this alone anymore." Daniel looked at her carefully. Neither spoke. Then Rachel whispered the truth she'd buried for years. "I'm so tired of being strong." And something inside Daniel shattered hearing that. Because he understood completely. He reached for her hand slowly. She didn't pull away. Weeks later, spring finally arrived. Warmer mornings. Open windows. Children laughing outside again. Life slowly returning. Then one evening, Lily disappeared. Panic exploded instantly. Daniel searched the entire building frantically. Rachel joined him. Everyone did. 20 terrifying minutes later, they found Lily sitting alone behind the apartment building crying quietly. Daniel dropped to his knees. Lily. She forgot Mom's birthday, Lily sobbed. Daniel froze. His daughter shook violently. I forgot her birthday this morning, and now I feel bad. Daniel immediately pulled her into his arms. Rachel stood nearby crying silently watching them. And suddenly, Daniel realized something painful. Grief never truly leaves. People just learn how to carry it together. That night, after the children slept, Rachel found Daniel outside again. The same spot. Same exhausted eyes. But different somehow. Less alone. Rachel sat beside him quietly. Then finally asked, "What are we doing?" Daniel looked at her. Real fear existed there. Not fear of rejection. Fear of hope. Slowly, carefully, Daniel answered, "I think we're saving each other." Rachel started crying instantly. Not dramatic tears. The quiet kind. The dangerous kind. The kind that come when someone finally says the truth out loud. Daniel moved closer carefully. "Rachel, I'm scared," she whispered. "I know. What if this falls apart too?" Daniel looked toward the apartment windows glowing warmly upstairs. At the children sleeping safely. At life somehow continuing despite everything. Then he said softly, "Maybe love isn't about avoiding pain." Rachel looked at him through tears. "Maybe it's finding someone worth hurting for." Silence. Cold wind. Distant traffic. Then Rachel leaned forward and rested her forehead against his. And neither moved. Because after years of loneliness, that tiny moment felt enormous. Summer arrived slowly. The apartment complex looked different now. Brighter somehow. The children practically lived between both apartments. Saturday mornings became pancake mornings. Movie nights turned into traditions. Tyler stopped acting angry all the time. Evan finally slept through the night again. And Lily laughed more. A lot more. One evening, Daniel came home exhausted from work and found something that stopped him cold. On Rachel's refrigerator was a drawing. 4 adult stick figures. 3 children. 1 dog that looked like a potato. Above them, written in crooked crayons, "Our family." Daniel stared at it silently. Rachel noticed from across the kitchen. The room suddenly felt emotional. Neither knew what to say. Then Rachel whispered, "She made it at school." Daniel swallowed hard. Because for the first time since Emily died, the word family didn't hurt quite as much anymore. Months later, on a quiet autumn evening, the 5 of them sat together outside the apartment building watching the sunset. The children chased, leaves nearby laughing hysterically. Rachel leaned against Daniel gently. "No screaming tonight," she joked softly. "Give it 10 minutes. She laughed. Real laughter this time. The kind that comes from healing. Daniel looked at her carefully. "You know, you were terrifying when we first met." Rachel gasped dramatically. "I was exhausted. You threatened murder over cereal." "I stand by that." He smiled fully now. Something he hadn't done in years. Rachel noticed immediately. "So that's what you look like when you're happy." Daniel looked toward Lily playing with the boys. Then back at Rachel. And quietly said, "I forgot happiness could feel this peaceful." Rachel took his hand. No grand speeches. No dramatic declarations. Just warmth. Steady. Safe. Human. And upstairs, through the apartment windows glowing softly in the evening light, life waited for them. Messy. Loud. Imperfect. But full again. For the first time in years. Neither apartment felt lonely anymore.